කරගුණ දියත පතලව විහිදුවා කැලණිය පුරා
නගා කිතු ගොස උදා වූ හඬ පතුරවා සිරිලක වටා
පෑව අභිමන් පහළ විස්කම් දිනෙන් දින ලොව වැජඹුණා කැලණි මාතා අභිමන් පුරනා කළ මිහිතලය මත කිරුල උසොලන
දේශයක ජීවයක් වූ ඔබ
බුදුරදුන් පහසලද බිම
දියත අභිමුව දජය උසුලන
වීර විරුවන් රුහිරු පුද කළ
සයුර පරතරට යොමු කළ
උපයි සිප්ලව කැලණි මෞනී අපුෂ්පිත ලොව සුපුෂ්පිත වූ
උපයියේ මල කැලණි මෞනී කැලණි මාතා අභිමන් පුරනා කැලණි මාතා කැලණි
The University of Kelaniya, which has its roots in Vidyalankara Pirivena, which was founded in 1873, is one of the most prestigious universities in Sri Lanka. It was one of the two universities that was established in 1959 to teach in the vernacular. Currently, the university houses 7 faculties. Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, computing and technology, humanities, graduate studies, medicine, science, social sciences, and 3 affiliated institutes: Pali and Buddhist Postgraduate Institute, Gampa Vikramarajchi Ayurveda Institute, and Postgraduate Institute of Archaeology. The university embraces a reputation for producing both intellectually capable and athletic personnel, as well as those with creative potential, balancing it off with a strong research culture. Especially cutting-edge research in the field of medicine at Kelaniya is groundbreaking. Moreover, research conducted at Kelaniya on palm leaf manuscript studies, archaeology and Sri Lankan heritage adds a unique flavor to the academia. The university maintains its unique reputation for study of Western and Eastern languages, being the only university in the country to offer maximum courses. The university strives towards conducting research focusing on national development by establishing link with the various governmental and non-governmental institutions, and the university has been successful in the production and dissemination of knowledge by way of research related local and international symposia that the university hosts. The university is expanding the horizon of sociological research, concentrating on society and heritage through a philosophical and communication-related approach. Moreover, through research geared towards natural sciences, the university has contributed to national development by seeking ways to lessen the impact that the man has created on nature due to industrialization and technological advancements. The University of Kelaniya has been an internationally renowned educational establishment for Prachina Bhasha for countries and is the flag bearer of Pali and Buddhist studies in Asia. As a result, the university has linked with the other institutions in the Asian region that teach Prachina Bhasha. The study programs offered at the University of Kelaniya are geared towards creating employable graduates as well as philosophers and intellectuals. Surveys ascertain that the graduates from the Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies at the Kelaniya are highly employable. Also, the creative output related to literature, fine and performing arts in the university is phenomenal. This is probably why the university has highest number of study streams related to arts and admit the highest number of art students as well. In order to ascertain employability among the graduates, the university is currently upgrading the internship programs that focus socio-emotional skills that are embedded in their study streams. The endonormative nature of research and teaching academia help the graduates to build a unique identity for themselves in the globalizing world. That is why the university is experimenting on creating unique computer software that carry the national identity. And the science and medicine related studies have made their responsibility to create a healthy nation. In fact, their studies and research at Gampaha Vikramarachya Ayurveda Institute are unique and sometimes transcend the importance of discoveries made in modern Western medicine. The University of Kelaniya is contributing to nation building with its nationally and internationally acclaimed research and culture products, while offering world-class education to a local and international student body. This university, which was also the pioneer Green University in Sri Lanka, has set its goals to become the first waste-free university by 2020. The vision of the University of Kelaniya is to become a center of excellence in creation and dissemination of knowledge for sustainable development. And the mission is to nurture intellectual citizens through creativity and innovation which contribute to the national development. Following that, our objective is to produce an eminent degree holder as a university which functions according to the Sri Lanka qualification framework.
Ayubowan, Vanakkam, Assalamu alaikum, welcome. It is with great pleasure to have play my role as a MC for 4th International Conference on Library and Information Management, ICLIM 2021. I'm Nadika Ratnabahu. Distinguished guests, invitees, ladies and gentlemen. Once, Sir Francis Bacon said, knowledge itself is power. That is why scholars are trying to challenge this global pandemic with diverse strategies. Well, the dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen, this is the right time to re-envisioning and fostering resilient libraries beyond the global crisis. For this, as professionals, we need to accept challenges. We need to find strategies and innovations to face this challenging situation. This year, we accepted this challenge and found the strategies as a department. That is why we are being here to conduct our 4th International Conference on Library and Information Management, ICLIM 2021, as a first virtual conference in collaboration with the Library and Research Center for Social Sciences, University of California. Moving with the agenda, let us officially lighten up this occasion. Please ready for faculty and staff.
Lahir madal sema ජන ශික්ෂා
සාධිත
සමාජීය විද්‍යා
පීඨය කැලණිය සරසවියේ කැලණිය සරසවියේ කැලණිය
Well, thank you all. Let us officially lighting up this occasion. Since traditional oil lamp is one of the symbols in our cultural tradition, I'll invite our distinguished dignitaries to lighting up the virtual oil lamp. Senior Professor Nilante de Silva, the Chief Guest and the Vice Chancellor, University of Kelaniya. Senior Professor Prema Kumari de Silva, Chairman, Scholars, Senior Professor, Department of Sociology, University of Colombo. Professor M. Gunatilaka, Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, University of Kelaniya. Dr. C.C. Jayasundara, Librarian, University of Kelaniya. Professor Anne Goldin, Keynote Speaker, Victoria University of Wellington, New Zealand. Senior Professor Kapila Senaviratne, Chairman, Research Council, University of Kelaniya. Professor D.T. Koggalage, Director, Research Center for Social Sciences, University of Kelaniya. Senior Professor M.K. Veerasinghe, Head of the Department, Library and Information Science, University of Kelaniya, and the Organizing Chair. Senior Professor W.A. Veerasurya, Department of Library and Information Science, University of Kelaniya, and the Organizing Chair. Dr. Dilara Begum, Associate Professor and Chairperson, Department of Information Studies and Library Management, East West University, Bangladesh. Dr. Rashida Bolasan, President, Librarians Association of Malaysia. Professor Ramesh C. Gaur, Dean Academics and Director, Library and Information, Head, Kala Nidhi Division, Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, Ministry of Culture, Government of India. Dr. P. Venkatarao, Fellow, Mahatma Gandhi State Institute of Public Administration, Punjab, India. Dr. R. Balasubramani, Associate Professor, Department of Library and Information Science, Bharathidasan University, India. Mr. W. Sunil, Director General, National Library and Documentation Services Board, Sri Lanka. Dr. Ananda Tissar, President, Sri Lanka Library Association. Mr. W.J. Jairaj, President, University Librarians Association of Sri Lanka. Dr. P. Vijayatunga, Director, National Institute of Library and Information Sciences, University of Colombo. Dr. Vatmane Senaviratne, former librarian, Open University of Sri Lanka. Dr. Namali Suravida, Senior Lecturer, Department of Library and Information Science, University of Kelaniya. Mr. Chamara Kurupwarachi, Secretary, International Conference on Library and Information Management, Department of Library and Information Science, University of Kelaniya. Thank you all for lighting up this occasion. Now, I respectfully invite Senior Lecturer, Reverend Lagumdeniye Pierratanathera, Department of Library and Information Science, University of Kelaniya, to declare the conference open.
Good morning to all of you, all dignitaries, invitees, ladies and gentlemen. I declare the conference open.
Thank you, Reverend Pierratanathera. Now, we are honored to have the presence of many national and international dignitaries on inaugural ceremony of ICLIM 2021. I kindly invite Senior Professor M.K. Veerasinghe, Head of the Department and Organizing Chair, ICLIM 2021, to conduct the welcome speech while introducing the Department of Library and Information Science. Sir, the virtual screen is yours.
Good morning to all of you. First of all, I would like to welcome all of you as a chair of the 4th International Conference on Library and Information Management. It gives me a great pleasure to be present here for the very timely and important conference on the main theme, re-energizing and fostering resilient libraries beyond the global crisis, challenges, strategies and innovations, organized by the Department of Library and Information Science, University of Kelaniya. We organized this conference in collaboration of Main Library, University of Kelaniya and Research Council of Faculty of Social Sciences under the pandemic situation with the aim of dissemination of new knowledge generated through new research project. The Department of Library and Information Science is the hub of library education in Sri Lanka. Our department established in 1973 and we have contributed to the development of trained manpower in the country and the region. It is my moral duty to welcome Chief Guest of the ICLIM, Senior Professor Nilanthi Da Silva, Vice Chancellor of the University of Kelaniya. She accepted our invitation without any hesitation within her busy schedule. I highly appreciate the role of the Vice Chancellor because she is behind our success. I warmly welcome Guest of Honor, Senior Professor Prema Kumar Da Silva, Chairman, Scholars and Senior Professor, Department of Sociology, University of Colombo. Our special welcome go to Keynote Speaker, Professor Anne Goldin, Professor in Library and Information Science, Victoria University of Wellington, New Zealand. Your participation is great honor to us, as well as to our profession in Sri Lanka. It is a reason for the success of conference. As a key figure in the development of library and information science in the Asia and Oceania region, we highly appreciate your participation within busy schedule in your career. One my main duty to welcome Dean Faculty of Social Sciences, University of Kelaniya, Professor H.M. Gunathilaka. He is a key figure of immense development of social sciences faculty and always help us to develop quality and the status of the department. I welcome the Chairman Research Council, Senior Professor Kapila Seneviratna, Dr. Chaminda Jayasundara, the University Librarian, and Dilma Koggalagi, Director, RCCS, University of Kelaniya. In this occasion, I welcome professors and head of departments and teaching and non-teaching staff of the University of Kelaniya. For the success of conference, we invited to 5 theme speakers as follows. They accepted our invitation and we highly respected all of you. Dr. Dilhara Began, Associate Professor and Chairperson, Department of Information Studies, and Library Management, East State University, Bangladesh. Dr. Rashida Belhassan, President, Library Association, Malaysia. Professor Ramesh Gaur, Dean and Director, Indira Gandhi National Centre for India. Dr. P. Venkata Rao, Fellow, Mahatma Gandhi State Institute of Public Administration, Chandigarh, India, and Dr. R. Balasubramani, Associate Professor, Department of Library and Information Science, Bharathidasan University, India. All of you are highly welcome, and I appreciate your valuable contribution. Special appreciation should go to conference chair, conference organizers, and all invitees, including department staff. Finally, I welcome all paper presenters, participants, academics, and professionals from India, Nigeria, Philippines, and Sri Lanka. My special welcome for the academic from India. Actually, you are the real owner of professional librarianship because you are representing the generation of Professor Ranganathan. He is the guru of all of us. We know all of you are dedicated academics and professionals, and I highly appreciate your role for the improvement of library services in the country and in the region. As you know, there are a number of academic forums, webinars in India. Hence, we should follow this type of experience through the concept of collaboration for resources sharing purposes. Therefore, we should build a bridge of collaboration between India and Sri Lanka, including other countries, by way of academic forum and discussion. If we conduct more collaborative programs and activities, it is obvious that we can upgrade the quality of teaching, library services, research in our universities. I welcome all our undergraduate and postgraduate students as well. I think this international conference is a good platform to share our views under one umbrella and also as a starting point of further academic development. I would like to appreciate and congratulate every one of you for your active contribution for the conference, a great success. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senior Professor M.K. Veerasinghe. Moving with the next agenda item, the virtual screen will open to Senior Professor W.A. Veerasurya, Organizing Chair, ICLIM 2021, to introduce the International Conference on Library and Information Management. The virtual screen is yours.
Very good morning to all of you. Reverend Sirs, Professor Nilanthi De Silva, the Vice Chancellor, University of Kelaniya, and the chief guest of this event. Our guest of honor, Chairman of Scholars, University Grants Commission, Senior Professor Prem Kumar De Silva. Keynote Speaker, Professor Annie Goldin. Team speakers, Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences, University of Kelaniya, Professor M.M. Gunatilaka. The Chairman, Research Council, Professor Kapila Senaviratna. Librarian, University of Kelaniya, Dr. Jayasundara. Head of the Department and the staff. The Director, RCSS, Dr. Mrs. Dilma Koggalagi. Distinguished delegates, paper presenters, dear students, ladies and gentlemen. We are so privileged, proud and honor you all are gathered here today. It is with great pleasure to address you all for a couple of minutes for introducing the International Conference on Library and Information Management, the ICLIM, and this conference, the ICLIM 2021. The role of the Department of Library and Information Science is vivid and enormous. In addition to the key player in the supply of manpower requirement for the library and information sectors in Sri Lanka and abroad, the department engaged with publishing journals, conducting workshops, training programs, university industry linkages, webinars, undergraduate conference sessions, and special discussion session targeted to the competency development of the undergraduate. The DINIS initiated a special scholarly program on its own called International Conference on Library Information Management. Its first international conference was held in collaboration with the Bharatidasan University in India in 2016. However, the convention of holding the ICLIM at biennially, we could organize the second international conference in 2017, which means 1 year after the first ICLIM. The third ICLIM was held in 2019, and this is the fourth conference we are gathered here today. The special feature is the COVID-19 pandemic and other reasons could not hinder or break our strong convention of holding the ICLIM bi-yearly. This is a novel experience for all of us in engaging with the new normal. This made a strong synergy for the DLIS. This time, the ICLIM organized in collaboration with the main library, University of Kelaniya, and the Research Center for the Social Sciences, RCSS, attached to the Faculty of Social Sciences, University of Kelaniya. It is another landmark in the history of ICLIM. Let me introduce the vision of this ICLIM. The vision of the ICLIM is to make a solid platform or a condemonium which can be used for scholarly purposes, especially holding bi-yearly international conference. For the ICLIM, I use here condemonium, that it is a common residential place that all residents are very mutually living with, solving their problem with self-help means a collaborative or a teamwork. Here in a condominium, it has a very powerful residential society or an association for solving problems and for upgrading their old residential and non-residential status quo. It is for living purposes. If you think an opera house, it is the same in literary purposes. Here I can recollect the opera house in Sydney, Australia. Therefore, the ICLIM is like a condominium or an opera house targeted with the scholar and professional purposes. We as the Department of Library and Information Science bear the role of condo ownership. In addition, we allow sharing all other responsibility to condo stakeholders, means ICLIM communities to work together. The prime goal of the ICLIM is to gather library and information professionals, the academics, semi-professionals, and the novices to a conference called ICLIM, which serves as an umbrella organization to share their research results, share their views, experiences, ideas, feelings, academically and professional manner with a view to obtaining pragmatic results. The ICLIM principal objectives are as follows: to convene seniors, emerging young library professionals, including undergraduate and postgraduate students, into ICLIM condominium, to share their research findings with a view to obtain many results, to learn experiences, know-how, a community of practice within the field, to solve problems in diversified aspects like professional, academic, technical, technological, or computing or otherwise, to relationship building and culture and reflective learning, to identify new development that occurred in the field and the environment, to acquaint new people through effective dialogue and discourse, to gain and share national and international experience, to disseminate the knowledge and practice, to issue standard publications, especially the conference volume. The principal purpose of this Fourth International Conference 2021, the principal purpose of this international conference is to seek avenues, strategies and know-how for achieving the part and partial goals in a pandemic situation. Being its prime theme is the re-envisioning and fostering resilient libraries beyond and global crisis, challenges, strategies and innovations. The sub-themes of the conference are as follows: revitalizing young libraries, librarianship, services and LIS education, empowering young LIS researchers for social advancement, information and knowledge management initiative for user-oriented libraries, re-energizing libraries in a techno-savvy environment, inspiring research, innovation and the best practices for sustainable library development. The issue at hand is how the information professionals face the challenge effectively and productively in using these challenges as strategies and innovations. This international conference expects to gather intellectuals, researchers, information professionals, students and other stakeholders in the system. National and international collaboration, the teamwork and the leadership are the three pillars for a success of any organization, along with the continued commitment in achieving the very vision and the mission of the said organization. The DLIS or Department of Library and Information Science as a key organization is on this track with the ICLIM. Let me introduce the time-relevant targets of this fourth ICLIM to contribute effectively to the achievement of the goal of the re-envisioning and fostering resilient libraries beyond the global crisis, challenges, strategies and innovations in the information science perspective, to share best practices and experiences gained by professionals, practitioners, educators and policymakers in LIS sector, to establish collaborative programs and to develop linkages with other educational institutions, universities, research organizations, professional associations in the field of library, documentation and information management, to create a collaborative scholarly platform for all, to create constructive dialogue in adopting and utilizing of technologies and facing challenges posed with this global crisis. These are the finite targets of this ICLIM. We wholeheartedly appreciate all the dignitaries, invitees, all ICLIM communities for your valuable contribution and the commitment in gracing this precious event. We lend everyone a happy and rewarding experience at the 4th International Conference on Library and Information Management ICLIM 2021, University of California. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senior Professor W.A. Veerasurya. Well, now it's time to hearing from our dignitaries. Chief guest, Senior Professor Nilanthi De Silva, Vice Chancellor, University of California, will be address the gathering. Madam, the virtual screen is yours now.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to speak a few words at the inauguration of this 4th International Conference on Library and Information Management, jointly organized by the Department of Library and Information Science of our Faculty of Social Sciences, the main library of our university and the Research Center for Social Sciences, under the theme of re-envisioning and fostering resilient libraries beyond the global crises, challenges, strategies and innovations. At the outset, I would like to remind you that the University of California established the Department of Library and Information Science in 1973, at the same time as the Department of Mass Communication, in order to introduce professional-oriented study programs based on the recommendation of the committee that investigated the causes of youth unrest that led to the 1971 uprising. To date, the Department of Library and Information Science in the University of California remains the only department in our university system which offers Library and Information Science as a subject for the Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Arts Honours degree programs. The department sees its role as that of supplying the expert human resources required by libraries and information centers in state and non-state organizations in Sri Lanka and perhaps sometimes other parts of the world too. This requires the department to maintain close links with many partner organizations that include other university libraries as well as the library and information centers under the purview of the Ministry of Education and the National Library and Documentation Services Board. The International Conference on Library and Information Management is a platform that fosters this relationship and enables academics, students, researchers and professionals to share their expertise and research findings. As someone who has been engaged in active research and publication of our research findings for over 3 decades now, I greatly value and appreciate the contribution of librarianship to academia. Before the advent of all the electronic databases that are available to us now, I have spent long hours in many libraries in Sri Lanka and in other countries finding and studying the literature pertinent to my work. Those of my publications that have received the most citations have all been on the development of estimates of the impact of various diseases at a global level. None of that work would have been possible if We didn't have access to collections of literature that were carefully curated and maintained by various libraries around the world. I have no doubt that I speak for all good researchers around the world, regardless of country or academic discipline, when I say that the support provided by libraries and information centers is the foundation that we build on. Unfortunately, we sometimes take this for granted and don't appreciate it enough, except to complain when we can't find what we need. The pandemic has posed innumerable challenges and made us all change our working habits in many different ways. Access to the resources provided by libraries and information centers have proved to be a key point in ensuring that we are able to continue with academic activities, and I think our librarians have risen to that challenge amazingly well. I am sure that you will continue to innovate and adapt to the new normal as we go into the future, that you will continue to provide us with the key resources that are essential for any form of higher education and research. As the Vice Chancellor of the host university, I warmly welcome our guest of honor, Senior Professor Prema Kumara De Silva, the Chairman of SCOLIS and member of the University Grants Commission, as well as our keynote speaker, Professor Anne Goldin, Professor in Library and Information Science, Victoria University of Wellington, New Zealand. I would also like to welcome and thank all the theme speakers, paper presenters, invitees, and participants. Finally, I especially thank the Department of Library and Information Science for taking up the challenge of organizing this remarkable event despite all the challenges and uncertainties that we faced during this pandemic, and sincerely thank all those who have contributed directly and indirectly for organizing this conference. I wish all the conference participants fruitful deliberations. Thank you.
Madam, thank you for being with us. Your presence and encouragement added more colors to our ICLIM 2021. Thank you again. Well, our next speaker is Senior Professor Prema Kumara De Silva. He is a Chairman of SCOLIS and Senior Professor, Department of Sociology, University of Colombo. The virtual platform is yours as a guest of honor to the 4th ICLIM 2021.
Everyone, I hope that you can clearly hear me. Venerable Mahasangha, other religious dignitaries, the Vice Chancellor, Senior Professor Nilanthi De Silva, keynote speaker today, Professor Anne Goldin, Professor Gunatilaka, Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, and the other deans and directors, librarian, Dr. Jayasundara, Senior Professor Veera Singha, Head of Library and Information Science, and other heads of departments, distinguished academics, session chairs, library staff, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great privilege for me to be with you today at 4th International Conference on Library and Information Management, organized by the Department of Library and Information Science, Faculty of Social Science, University of California. The theme of this year's symposium is that reinvisioning and fostering resilience libraries beyond the global crisis, challenges, strategies, and innovations. The theme of this symposium is no doubt a very important topic to be explored under the highly digitalized world and looming global crisis. In that sense, libraries and library-related disciplines are playing a very important role in this crisis situation. So I just wanted to actually make a note before I starting some of the comments on this particular theme. So you all know that we are going to actually organize a conference to mark the centenary celebration of teaching humanities and social science in Sri Lanka among all the Sri Lankan universities, state universities, organized by Standing Committee on Social Science and Humanities, which I'm also chairing. So as a social scientist, this year is very, very special for us. I would like to actually make open invitation for all of you. Please join with us on 20th December, the inauguration ceremony at BMICH, and on 21st, virtual conference based on invited papers. So I'm so happy that the Department of Information Science Management basically organized this academic event with the leadership of Vice Chancellor, Senior Professor Nilantidi Silva, and also Professor Gunathilaka, and the conference chair, Professor Veerasuriya. So as the chairman of the Standing Committee on Libraries and Information Science, let me share a few thoughts with you at this very important annual event of your university. So we all know that we are living in an information age. So I'm not actually expert of library science. My disciplinary training actually comes from sociology and anthropology. So we all know that the emergence of an integration of information technology, many predicted that library would become obsolete. So once students had the options of using their computers anywhere on campus, why would they need to go to the library? Those charged with guiding the future of a university demanded that this question be answered before they committed any additional funding to perpetuate the library and library-related disciplines. What is the point of maintaining libraries in the current form? Many asserted that the virtual library would replace the physical libraries. This dichotomical, the debate going on, right? We are living in information world. The virtualization is quite rapidly happening. So some actually argue that what is the point of having physical libraries in this planet? The library as a place would no longer be critical components of an academic institution. While information technology has not replaced print media and is not expected to do so in the foreseeable future, it has nonetheless had an astonishing and quite unanticipated impact on the role of the library. Contrary to the predictions of diminishing use and eventual outmodelness of libraries, usage has extended dramatically, sometimes doubling or even tripling. That is the worldwide situation. However, our librarians would tell us Sri Lankan situations today. So what is the readership, how they are useful, how many actually using these? Is there a need of a training professional in this area? What would be the future shape of the libraries and related disciplines? Interestingly, These increases are particularly common at libraries and institutions or departments that work with architect and planners, anticipate the full impact of the integration of new information technologies throughout their facilities. Some argue that the demand for services and technological access to information, regardless of format, is beyond expectation. The library, which is still combination of the past, I mean print collections, present information technologies, where actually this particular department is expertise. So now we need to actually bring a new perspective and understanding how we are going to fulfill this dichotomy, the gap. So moving back and forth from physical libraries to digital libraries. So this is the very interesting, actually, sort of a development for me as a sociologist, because once society actually transforming from a, we talk about the societal transformation from hunting and gathering to, highly digitalized world, this particular structural transformation actually, so libraries are getting more and more, they have to really reshape the structure, the way in which actually provide services and training people, professional in that particular, to meet these challenges. So somehow the integration of new information technology has actually become the catalyst that transformed the library-related discipline into a more vital and critical intellectual centers of life at universities. New technologies are created that increasingly inform the learning experience in institutions seriously considering the future of its libraries and library-related discipline must reach consensus on the role that it wants these facilities to play in meeting the needs, not only of its current academic community, but also of the community it appears to create in the future. Let's label them as digital or virtual community. So creating and supporting actually virtual community. With that note, let me conclude my brief intervention here by saying this. Libraries and library-related disciplines are essential in process of giving citizens access to knowledge and product of information professional in the highly digitalized world is a challenge for the Department of Library and Information Science and a university. Training professionally in this particular disciplinary area is very important. So I think you have well-qualified people to do so, training our younger generations to face this challenge ahead, how to transform actually libraries into more virtual, digital setup, which can be catered to more readership, more people, by creating library-centered, actually virtual readership communities. There, of course, the department can play a big role by disseminating the new knowledge related to new information management. Most importantly, however, libraries and library-related disciplines, departments are the place where you can expect smart and clear answers to even the most difficult questions we are facing today under the pandemic situation. With that note, let me congratulate the Department of Information, Department of Library and Information Science, University of California, heads of department, and the conference organizers for organizing this academic exercise where actually people will share their knowledge, up-to-date knowledge with the younger generations and share it with the international academic bodies and try to develop, try to meet those challenges we are facing today. As the chairman of the scholars, I'm ready to provide all the support from the University Grant Commission side to meet this challenge. Once again, thank you very much for inviting me. I wish all these deliberations will be successful. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for addressing the ICLIM 2021 inauguration ceremony as a guest of honor. Well, moving with the agenda, I would like to invite Senior Professor M.M. Gunathilaka, Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, University of Kelaniya, Sri Lanka, to address the gathering.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Madam Vice Chancellor, Senior Professor Nilanthini Silva, Deans of other faculties, professors, heads of department, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor and privilege for me to speak a few words before you in this inaugural session of the 4th International Conference on Library and Information Management, organized by the Department of Library and Information Science as the Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences, University of Kelaniya. I take pleasure in mentioning that the Department of Library and Information Science is one of the most dynamic and high-powered departments in our faculty, and it has been a practice of the department to organize these kinds of important events from time to time. I believe that international conferences of this nature would provide valuable opportunities for networking and knowledge exchange among young researchers who are afforded the opportunity to connect with other researchers of the same field and share their views and knowledge. I appreciate the effort taken by the Department of Library and Information Science to organize this remarkable event in collaboration with the main library of University of Kelaniya and the Research Center for Social Sciences. My deepest gratitude goes to the advisory board, organizing committee, and volunteers who have directly and indirectly lent their support to organize this conference. Finally, I wish you a very productive conference with exciting and thought-provoking discussions and exchange of knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senior Professor M.M. Gunathilaka. Your support is always given us opportunity to elevate ourselves. Thank you again, sir. This year, ICLIM is collaboratively organized with 2 pioneering bodies of the university. Library is one of among them. Therefore, I would like to invite Dr. C.C. Jayasundara, librarian, University of Kelaniya, to address the gathering.
I wish to congratulate the organizing committee of the 4th International Conference on Library and Information Management, which is organized by the Department of Library and Information Sciences, University of Kelaniya, in collaboration with the Library, University of Kelaniya. In fact, what I think, the library and information science research is very much needed for the development of this country, because library and information science has not been expanded widely in this country because of some reasons. But organizing this kind of conferences and research seminars and colloquiums will make us aware about the new trends and development, and which will in turn facilitate for all the users to be provided better service and better information for the development of the country. Library information science is an emerging field now. I mean, it has been proven in other countries, including the Western world as well as the developing Oriental countries. But in Sri Lanka, it has still in its infancy because of some reasons. But we need to identify these reasons to fill the gap of library information science research, because library and information science research is very much needed for providing better service to the end users, especially the people, those who are working in organizations, research organizations, universities, higher education institutions. They need very innovative ways of accessing to information and synthesizing information and the use of information. But if we are using the traditional way of providing information and service provision, that kind of requirement will not be fulfilled. So if we want to fulfill the emerging needs of the researchers as well as academicians specifically, we need some sort of enhanced, innovative project ideas. So that is the reason that we need to pay more attention towards library information science research studies. So I think this conference will certainly provide us good opportunities to disseminate what we have found during the past, and also to introduce more and more innovative ideas to the library and information service field. Then of course we can use this information and use these research studies to enhance the quality of service provision as well as to enhance the provision of information resources for the actual requirement of the researchers in the country. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. C.C. Jayasundara. As a department, your support is always highly appreciated. Now, I would like to invite Senior Professor Kapila Senaviratne, Chairman, Research Council, University of Kelaniya, to conduct his speech.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As the Chairman of the Research Council, it is my great pleasure to address you and welcome you to the 4th International Conference on Library and Information Management, ICLIM 2021, conducted by the Department of Library and Information Science of the Faculty of Social Sciences of University of Kelaniya, in collaboration with the Library of University of Kelaniya and the Research Center for Social Sciences. Research Council of University of Kelaniya was established to support interdisciplinary research and promote research culture in the university. Despite the pandemic situation in the country, I notice with great pleasure that there is a lot of enthusiasm among the academic community in the university to engage in research-related activities. I have also noticed that the list of Senate awardees for high-quality publications is exponentially expanding. Research conferences of this nature are extremely important to nourish the research culture in the university, as these conferences provide a platform for young researchers to present their research work internationally, receive valuable comments, to have fruitful discussions, etc. In addition to that, these research conferences generate a lot of publications in the form of abstracts as well as conference full papers, which are added to the e-repository of the university. Pandemic situation has brought a lot of challenges to our existing practices. Teaching is done virtually, library services are done virtually, and conferences are organized virtually in many places of the world. For the Department of Library and Information Science of the university, as well as for the library, the pandemic situation has brought a lot of challenges. The theme of this conference, re-envisioning and fostering resilient libraries beyond the global crisis, challenges, strategies, and innovations, is a timely theme, and I'm sure that you will have a serious dialogue of present challenges and how to deal with them. I wish you a very fruitful conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senior Professor Kapila Senaviratne. Well, indeed, we are privileged to hearing from highly distinguished foreign personalities. It is now time to listen to such an esteemed keynote speaker. To welcome our keynote speaker with citation, I would like to invite Mr. Chamara Kurupuarachi, Conference Secretary, ICLIM 2021. Over to you, Mr. Kurupuarachi.
Good morning, you all. Distinguished guests, all invitees, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor for me to introduce our keynote speaker, Professor Anne Goldin, to the International Conference on Library and Information Management 2021. Dr. Anne Goldin is a professor of Library and Information Management at the School of Information Management, Victoria University of Wellington, New Zealand. Dr. Goldin received her PhD from the University of Sheffield, United Kingdom. She has a particular interest in how library and information services demonstrate the impact of their programs and services. Her research interest is primarily in the management of library and information services, and her focus is on the management of public libraries. In recent years, Dr. Goldin has undertaken research into story time programs in public libraries, and her passionate dedications to exploring how public libraries contribute to community-based print and digital literacy is inspiring. Additionally, Dr. Goldin is interested in teaching and learning in the information studies field, including the continuing professional development of librarians and information workers, social responsibility in a digital world, and management in information services. To her credit, she has published several very valuable books, and the books published in 2016 titled Public Libraries in the 21st Century, Defining Services and Debating the Future, which provides a unique and thorough guide to contemporary discourses surrounding issues of identity, social purpose, value, and strategy facing the public library service. Dr. Goldin has published widely in refereed national and international journals and edited works, and has given conference presentations on the topics related to public library services, library policy, governance, and digital inclusion. In addition, Dr. Goldin is editor of the Journal of Librarianship and Information Science, which is one of the high quality and standard journals in the librarianship field published by SAGE. And she is serving as an editorial board member of SAGE Open. Her contribution to librarianship is enormous and vivid, and it is so difficult to task to elaborate this scholar within a short span of like this. However, I was so privileged and very happy about this opportunity. My dear madam, I am very honored to invite you to deliver the keynote address. Thank you all.
Kia ora, tēnā koutou katoa. Hello, and First of all, I'd just like to thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today. I feel very pleased and very privileged to be able to join this conference and tell you of my musings on organizational resilience to fit in with the theme of the conference. So in this keynote, I'm going to be considering some of the concepts and ideas around organizational resilience and how they might be applied to libraries. So the word resilience has been very prominent in our discussions around COVID-19, the pandemic. We've become very familiar with this global resilience ranking, for example. This is Bloomberg's global resilience ranking that rates countries on how effectively they're handling the virus. On a more day-to-day basis, we talk quite a lot, or we have been talking quite a lot about people's, mental resilience as well, and our children's resilience as they go through these unprecedented times. And I think when we consider the word resilience, we think of the ability to cope with a crisis, and recover effectively from difficulties caused by that crisis and adverse events. So resilience then is the ability to continue functioning despite severe significant challenges. And any of those of you who have been to New Zealand know that we face some challenges with the weather here in New Zealand. So this is a picture from the Chatham Islands, actually, which is a little bit further south, so even further towards the Antarctic, showing a tree that is showing resilience and continuing to grow and thrive despite the challenges thrown at it by the weather there. So also on this slide, you'll see I've got this definition from Maston and Narayan. So resilience defined as the capacity of a dynamic system to withstand or recover from significant challenges that threaten its stability, viability, or development. So a dynamic system. So when we're thinking of a dynamic system, we can think of a tree, a dynamic system. We can think of a person, or we can think of an organization, or even a community or a society. So that idea of a dynamic system can be applied in lots of different ways. Importantly, I think, resilience is not necessarily just a sign of sheer mental toughness. Rather, it indicates the ability to work through adversity, reflecting on our response to that adversity, thinking about how we're coping, thinking about our emotions, and our ability to adapt to new circumstances and come back stronger. It's that throughout the literature on resilience, there's this idea of emerging from the challenge stronger than ever before. So essentially, resilience is about change, our ability to cope with change, our ability to adjust to challenging changes within our environment, move forward, and perhaps even experience growth through that adversity. So essentially, resilience is a positive outcome resulting from a negative experience. And we can think of resilience, as I said, at both an individual and a group, a system level, an organizational level, a societal level. And although this conference is focusing primarily on organizational resilience, I think it's worth first considering individual resilience, employee resilience, individual staff resilience, because of course we know that organizations are made up of individuals. And an organization's people management or human resource practices and approaches can support employee resilience, both for their individual benefit, but also for the benefit of the wider organization. We know, of course, that individuals react to change differently. And so a person's resilience is dependent on a range of factors. And that can include their background, their family background, their genetics, their past experiences, but also the environmental or situational context in which they find themselves. So I've been looking at this model from Britt and colleagues, and I think it's quite a good representation of people's reactions to adverse events and the factors impacting on how resilient they are in the face of those adverse events. So in this model, the authors, they distinguish between the individual's capacity for resilience, and you can see that there at the bottom of the slide, which may be dependent on a range of those different resources, as you can see. So they're thinking about the ability of the individual to adapt in the face of adversity, and their adaptability, as I say, is perhaps dependent on a range of different factors. So they distinguish between that capacity for resilience and also their demonstration of resilience, which you can see towards the right-hand side of the slide there. So what kind of evidence is it? What are the manifestations, I suppose, that the individual has adapted positively, is resilient? Yeah. The model, as you can see, also then lists the characteristics of the adverse events. So things like, what's the intensity, what's the frequency, those can impact on how people respond. And also the processes in the middle there, the processes that are considered to impact on how the individual responds, or how they respond. So what's the role of the employer in this? So these are, we're thinking about individual staff members here. What responsibility, I suppose, does the employee have, the employer have here, or the role of the employer? I suppose it's really to recognize, again, that employees' capacity for resilience varies, so not everybody will react in the same way. And there's also a role to support them, isn't there? To support their positive adaptation through initiatives and through human resource approaches that can help support people's resilience and build their resilience, and perhaps mitigate some of the negative impacts of those adverse events. So we might have initiatives such as mental health interventions, for example, developing and encouraging healthy behaviors, healthy work-life balance, a culture of wellness, and also building positive social and professional connections and networks within the workplace. So good people managed practices such as these can help individuals and therefore organizations withstand crises and develop resilience. And in fact, organizational resilience is developed through strategically managing human resources to develop those competencies among staff that enable the organization to respond appropriately when it's faced with profound and unexpected shocks such as COVID-19. So let's turn to organizational resilience. There's a long history, quite a long history on looking at organizational resilience, and quite a lot of literature in the area, going back to at least 1982. This paper on environmental jolts by Alan Mayer in 1982 is considered a kind of seminal work in the area of organizational resilience. His paper was called Adapting to Environmental Jolts, and he investigated how different organizations, different healthcare organizations, responded to a strike by employees that kind of came out of nowhere, yeah, an environmental jolt. In fact, I think that the photograph I've used to illustrate this slide is not a very good one, actually, in hindsight, because it seems to suggest that we knew this crisis was coming, and of course we didn't. Yeah, so a bit like the strike, although in Alan Mayer's work, although probably they had more warning that trouble was brewing than we did with the pandemic and COVID-19, we don't know what's round the next corner. So perhaps that crisis ahead sign there is not a very good illustration. But Mayer describes this environmental jolt as a sudden and unprecedented event, something that's very difficult to predict, and something that brings with it disruptive and potentially detrimental impacts to the organization. Now, I said there's been quite a lot of literature in this area, and no doubt the last 2 years have given scholars of organizational resilience plenty of research material as they explore organizational responses to this environmental jolt we have suffered with the COVID-19 pandemic. But as I say, you know, organizations are made up of individuals, employees, and organizational resilience depends on the capacity of those employees to cope, to adapt, to thrive when faced with these kinds of challenges. So in Aotearoa, we have a Maori proverb, he aha te mea nui o te ao, he tangata, he tangata, he tangata. What is the most important thing in the world? It's the people, it's the people, it's the people. And we hear that a lot, and it resonates, I think, especially during these trying times. It's all about the people. And I think it's particularly relevant to this area of organizational resilience, because if you read the literature around this area, people are recognized as the key, the most important aspect, the most important factor in organizational resilience. But it's also emphasized that those people have to be supported by appropriate organizational practices and appropriate approaches within the organization that support and develop their resilience. But this brings us, I think, to another aspect of organizational resilience that's often stressed in the literature, that resilience can be learned. You know, going back to that model, that BRIT model, you'll have noticed that when thinking about why people react differently, and there were those range of factors across the bottom of that model, genetics was mentioned. And sure, genetics might play a little bit of a factor, but most researchers believe that it plays, you know, quite a minor role, and that really individuals and organizations can develop resilience, and that organizational resilience develops from employees' ability to learn from adversity and emerge stronger, yeah? Learning and becoming stronger. But not all organizations seem capable of supporting the kind of learning that helps employees develop organizational resilience. And there is evidence that those organizations run more along Douglas McGregor's theory Y lines are likely to be more resilient. So those of you interested in management theory will no doubt know Douglas McGregor's work going right back to 1960s, I think, 1950s, 1960s. where he said, you know, there are managers who take theory X approaches and managers who take theory Y approaches. And theory X managers are quite authoritarian, lots of monitoring, lots of checking, not giving their employees much autonomy or independence in the workplace, very much a top-down approach, while theory Y managers are much more focused on giving their staff autonomy and independence, freedom and discretion to make decisions in the workplace. And as I say, there seems to be evidence that organizations that take that approach are more likely to develop resilience. So generally, it's considered that the more formalized and complex, the more hierarchical and bureaucratic structures inhibit the learning necessary to develop that organizational resilience. But learning is enhanced by structures that delegate decision-making, distribute decision-making and leadership, and encourage employee engagement and empowerment. So resilient organizations are generally found to have decentralized decision-making, low levels of formalization, high levels of collaboration, high levels of cross-organization working, and also cross-organization information and knowledge sharing. The operational flexibility enabled through those kinds of approaches allow organizations to respond quickly and more effectively to the kinds of disruption brought by COVID-19. Also, you know, those kind of staff management approaches that support and encourage employees to experiment with new approaches and perhaps take a few risks are also considered supportive of staff learning, develops their capacity to learn, and therefore their organizational resilience as well. So that kind of learning organization idea. Okay, in the last part of this talk then, we'll just think about, you know, the extent to which libraries have demonstrated the characteristics of resilient organizations throughout the pandemic. And, you know, over the years, there's been quite a lot of research literature and professional accounts, so accounts from, you know, librarians working in the field, of how libraries contribute to community resilience. Yeah, so often we can read reports of disasters around the world, and how libraries have responded and supported their communities through those crises and that kind of collective trauma that communities have faced. So there's been a lot of literature on that, you know, libraries' response to community disaster, but there's less focus perhaps on how libraries themselves have adapted to those environmental jolts. Yeah. Now, an interesting point made by Mayer in that early paper, in his original paper on environmental jolts, is that while those abrupt changes or crises in the external environment are generally considered unwelcome, yeah, we really don't want them, and they can be dangerous to organizational success and maybe even existence, yeah, they can also, those environmental jolts can also offer opportunities for organizational learning and the introduction of beneficial and innovative change. And, you know, really, I think that seems to have been the experience of many libraries around the globe as they've adjusted to these really difficult circumstances brought about by the pandemic. Now, that is being a bit of a Pollyanna, looking for the good out of the bad, and there's been, you know, there's no doubt that it has been a really difficult time and very uncomfortable for a lot of individuals and organizations. But now we're taking stock, and perhaps we can see, you know, some of the benefits that are emerging. So firstly, I think when we're thinking about libraries, the pandemic really intensified the digital migration of resources and services. And, you know, we might think of that as more of an incremental change rather than a dramatic change. So it's a continuation of developments probably already underway. But I think still the methods and the approaches used were often quite innovative. You know, special arrangements were made in many countries and by many libraries to continue and also to extend access to services and programs. You know, really, we've seen a lot of services migrating online where feasible, and also strengthening and extending existing online provision. And these arrangements have often involved new partnerships, for example, with, you know, community organizations, industry organizations, public health bodies, governmental organizations. So a lot of new collaboration and cooperation and partnerships going on. So I'd say that in the face of the restrictions imposed by COVID-19, libraries have proved themselves to be quite agile, very adaptable, and also very resilient. So, you know, academic libraries, for example, have found new ways to manage course reserves, extend their virtual reference services, offer online data, research data services, online workshops, online reading rooms. There's a whole range of things, if you look at the literature, that libraries have developed and innovated. Public libraries, you know, found ways to manage contactless delivery, deliver online programming, including online story times, book groups and other community events, and, you know, support the schoolwork of children learning from home. And of course, school libraries did the same. All libraries have had to consider interior restructuring to think about social distancing, as well as implementing remote work for staff and virtual team collaboration. So overall, you know, libraries have made, you know, very inventive use, I'd say, of technologies, spaces and services to continue to support their communities of users throughout this pandemic. What about afterwards then? How will we reflect on the changes in libraries stimulated by the pandemic in time once we reach the blue skies of the after time, hopefully sooner rather than later? Now, according to Meyer again, when environmental jolts subside, the true resilience of the organization is often revealed, and the consequences of the adaptations made to cope with that jolt can be properly assessed. So it's only in hindsight, he's saying, that we can really analyze what happened and how successful we are and how resilient we are. Mayer actually draws a distinction between first order and second order changes. So first order changes are the incremental changes that improve on what the organization already does, improves processes, for example, within existing organizational parameters. And second order changes really require a new way of thinking and challenges current approaches and ways of operating. So it'll be interesting, I think, to see and to observe the degree to which the second order innovative approaches to library service delivery inspired by the pandemic endure in the long term. Regardless of when we emerge from the ongoing restrictions of COVID-19, you know, I think it's very clear that spaces, services and operations of libraries will be impacted for some time to come, if not forever. Overall then, and to conclude, I'd say that, you know, the pandemic has provided us with, a much better understanding of libraries' adaptive capabilities, and has demonstrated that library staff are resilient people who are committed not just to continuity, but also improvement of services for their communities of users. As I've said, most researchers assume that these sudden, unwelcome changes are dangerous and perhaps even life-threatening for organizations. But evidence and research into organizational resilience over the years suggests that these sudden changes can sometimes benefit organizations. Make them consider why they exist and reinvigorate and revitalize their operations. Now, libraries are no doubt already reflecting on their experiences, and I think, considering how they can capitalize on them. And I'm sure that we will see future innovations and improvements in service delivery for the benefit of all their communities of users. Thank you.
Dear Venerable Mahasangha and all dignitaries, first of all, I would like to express my profound gratitude to the Chief Guest, Vice Chancellor of University of Kelaniya, Professor Nilanthi De Silva, for gracing this occasion. Thank you, Madam, for all of your support throughout this journey. Next, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to guest of honor of today's inauguration session, Chairman, Standing Committee on Library and Information Science, Senior Professor Premakumar De Silva, for accepting our invitation and your online presence here today. I would also like to thank our Dean, Faculty of Social Sciences, University of Kelaniya, Professor M.M. Gunatilaka. Thank you, sir, for all of your support and encouragement given to us always to do the best. Moreover, on behalf of the ICLIM organizing team, I would also like to thank the librarian, University of Kelaniya, Dr. C.C. Jayasundara, and also Chairman, Research Council, University of Kelaniya, Senior Professor Kapila Senaviratna. We are very grateful to our keynote speaker of this ICLIM 2021, Professor Anne Goldin, Professor in Library and Information Science, Victoria University of Wellington, for accepting our invitation and share your extensive knowledge and experience with us. Furthermore, I extend my sincere gratitude to the theme speakers, Dr. Dilara Begum, Associate Professor and Chairperson, Department of Information Studies and Library Management, East West University, Bangladesh. Dr. R. Balasubramani, Associate Professor, Department of Library and Information Science, Bharatadasan University, India. And Dr. Rashida Bolhasan, President, Librarians Association of Malaysia. Professor Ramesh C. Gaur, Dean, Academics and Director, Library and Information Science, Head, Kalanidhi Division, Indira Gandhi National Center for Arts, Ministry of Culture, GOI. And also Dr. P. Venkatarao, Fellow, Knowledge Management, Mahatma Gandhi State Institute of Public Administration, Punjab, Chandigarh, India. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for our head of the department and organizing chair, Senior Professor M.K. Veerasinghe, and conference organizing chair, Senior Professor W.A. Veerasurya, for your outstanding leadership, encouragement, and extensive support provided throughout the endeavor. Sir, your contribution is highly appreciated. This year, we are organizing our ICLIM 2021 in collaboration with Library, University of Kelaniya. and Research Center for Social Sciences, Faculty of Social Sciences, University of Kelaniya. So thank you, Dr. Jayasundara and Professor Dilma Kogdalage for your immense support. I take this opportunity to extend our most sincere thanks to all the academic and non-academic staff of the Department of Library and Information Science for their great support and collaboration, and also for their presence here today. I must thank all the administrative and non-academic staff of the University of Kelaniya who contributed us in many ways. Thank all of your all support. My appreciation and gratitude also goes to all reviewers who done their task on time, as well as all the chairpersons, moderators, and shadow moderators. So I highly appreciate your continuous support. I would also glad to convey my sincere thanks to all the distinguished guests in many institutions who accept our invitation and presence here today. ICLIM 2021 has been fortunate enough to be backed by a very motivated and dedicated team at the Department of Library and Information Science who are results-oriented. We would be failing in our duty if I do not mention our lovely team members' names. So they work together as a family to achieve one goal. Mr. K.T. Chamara, all of us, hats off to you because you are the one who guided all organizing team to act effectively, efficiently, and productively. Similarly, I extend my sincere gratitude to our passed out reverends who are joined with us as an organizing team, as well as Ms. Nadika Ratnabahu, Ms. HKI Sewandi, Ms. Shalini Dilinika, Mr. Shanakar Ansara, Ms. Chapa, Ms. Iresha, and all members of the organizing team. I thank all of you who have been involved in this particular exercise and worked day and night for last several months. Without your cooperation and fullest support, this event would not have been possible. Thank you for your great effort to make this event run smoothly and efficiently. Again, I would say the team at Department of Library and Information Science, you have again proved that together everyone achieve more. That's team. Thank you. And this event would not have been successful without IT team. So Mr. Dinuka Kannangara, Mr. Pitigala, Mr. Samira and your team, as well as volunteers and the students in the organizing committee. Thank you so much for your efforts. All the audience, hats off to you. I would be failing in my duty if I do not convey my thanks to print and non-print electronic media for the efforts they are taking for the coverage of the event, including Media Center of the University of Kelaniya. Last but not least, I thank the wonderful audience, research participants who has turned up in such overwhelming numbers. We thank you very much for your participation. Today, our event is announced by Ms. Nadika Ratnabahu, Senior Lecturer of the Department of Library and Information Science. So thank you so much for your interactive broadcasting too. I apologize if I missed any individual or organization here. Thank you all once again, and I look forward to an extremely productive academic conference, ICLIM 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Namali Suravira. Now, we are at the end of the inauguration ceremony of ICLIM 2021. Distinguished dignitaries, we believe that all of you are waiting to attend the technical sessions of the conference. Before joining with that, you have a health break until 11 a.m. Then ICLIM 2021 parallel session will be started 11 a.m. and continue until 2:30 p.m. Finally, our valedictory session will be started at 3 p.m. These are the message from the ICLIM 2021 Organizing Committee. With that, at the beginning, as I said, knowledge itself is power. To transferring this power into society, libraries are playing significant role. That is why libraries are taking as a power of knowledge of excellences. With that, I join the inauguration ceremony of ICLIM 2021. Thank you and have a nice day.
The University of Kelaniya, which has its roots in Vidyalankara Pirivena, which was founded in 1873, is one of the most prestigious universities in Sri Lanka. It was one of the two universities that was established in 1959 to teach in the vernacular. Currently, the university houses 7 faculties. Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies, Computing and Technology, Humanities, Graduate Studies, Medicine, Science, Social Sciences, and 3 affiliated institutes, Pali and Buddhist Postgraduate Institute, Gampa Vikramarachchi Ayurveda Institute, and Postgraduate Institute of Archaeology. The university embraces a reputation for producing both intellectually capable and athletic personnel, as well as those with creative potential, balancing it off with a strong research culture. Especially cutting-edge research in the field of medicine at Kelaniya is groundbreaking. Moreover, research conducted at Kelaniya on palm leaf manuscript studies, archaeology and Sri Lankan heritage adds a unique flavor to the academia. The university maintains its unique reputation for study of Western and Eastern languages, being the only university in the country to offer maximum courses. The university strives towards conducting research focusing on national development by establishing link with the various governmental and non-governmental institutions and the university has been successful in the production and dissemination of knowledge by way of research related local and international symposia that the university hosts. The university is expanding the horizon of sociological research, concentrating on society and heritage through a philosophical and communication-related approach. Moreover, through research geared towards natural sciences, the university has contributed to national development by seeking ways to lessen the impact that the man has created on nature due to industrialization and technological advancements. The University of Kelaniya has been an internationally renowned educational establishment for Prachina Bhasha for countries and is the flag bearer of Pali and Buddhist studies in Asia. As a result, the university has a link with the other institutions in the Asian region that teach Prachina Bhasha. The study programs offered at the University of Kelaniya are geared towards creating employable graduates as well as philosophers and intellectuals. Surveys ascertain that the graduates from the Faculty of Commerce and Management Studies at the Kelaniya are highly employable. Also, the creative output related to literature, fine and performing arts in the university is phenomenal. This is probably why the university has highest number of study streams related to arts and admit the highest number of art students as well. In order to ascertain employability among the graduates, the university is currently upgrading the internship programs that focus socio-emotional skills that are embedded in the study streams. The endonormative nature of research and teaching at Kelaniya help the graduates to build a unique identity for themselves in the globalizing world. That is why the university is experimenting on creating unique computer software that carry the national identity. And the science and medicine related studies have made their responsibility to create a healthy nation. In fact, their studies and research at Gampaha Vikramarachya Ayurveda Institute are unique and sometimes transcend the importance of discoveries made in modern Western medicine. The University of Kelaniya is contributing to nation building with its nationally and internationally acclaimed research and culture products while offering world-class education to a local and international student body. This university, which was also the pioneer Green University in Sri Lanka, has set its goals to become the first waste-free university by 2020. The vision of the University of Kelaniya is to become a center of excellence in creation and dissemination of knowledge for sustainable development. And the mission is to nurture intellectual citizens through creativity and innovation which contribute to the national development. Following that, our objective is to produce an eminent degree holder as a university which functions according to the Sri Lanka qualification framework.